Right, bit of a detective story here. This is a barn conversion. You can see the kitchen, damp sniffer dog, and all the usual. You know, just got clay tiles on the floors. These walls are all dry lined. You can hear the dry lining there. So it's actually quite difficult to work out what's going on. Now, and what I'm doing, I came in here and we've got a wood floor in here, and you can see that it's very rippled, and you can see these upsy downsy marks in the carpet. Now, why have we got those? And then we start looking at one or two more subtle clues as to what's going on here. You'll notice that down here the wooden sill is slightly, you can see there it's very dark, so we know that's wet. Timber always goes black when you start getting moisture on it. And the other thing, of course, you can see on the reveal here, it's a bit manky. Not desperate, but it is manky. And you can also see down the edge there there's a little bit. Now this isn't, you know, it's not a lot, but by the same token it's not good. So this is just telling me that there's a problem. And again, in the corner there we've got fluff, all sorts of bits and pieces. Again, it's very subtle. You're not likely to find much here. Now, I did take up a corner of the carpet, just in this corner, and we got a thermo hygrometer probe in behind it, and the probe went up to about 95% relative humidity. So we know that under the floor, under the wood floor, the humidity is quite high, and in behind the dry lining, the humidity is quite high. I've actually done a little hole, a probe hole, and you can't tell now, but somewhere in here through the carpet we've got a hole, and it went to about 80% relative humidity. Here we're testing, I've got a tiny hole drilled in behind the, let's move this, you can see we've got a probe, that thing, little tiny probe. It's only 4mm, there's the tip of it, minute little thing, 4mm diameter, and that's in at the back of the dry lining, checking the dry lining. And there's the reading that we're getting. Oops, I wish it wouldn't go out on me. There you go. So it's 80% relative humidity in there, and the main thing here is this 8.2 grams per cubic metre, so it gives you a bit of an idea of the total amount of water in there. Right, I'm also going to do, and this is an interesting one, I've got a tiny hole that I put in on this side because I'm not very happy with the wall here. And that probe, you can see it's going in quite a way. I don't quite know what's going to be in here, but that's starting to, if you look at that, it's clicking up quite resolutely. Relative humidity 89.5, 90, 91, and you can see here that the grams per cubic metre is going up. That's 10. Relative humidity, we're already at 93, so we're going to get, I guarantee this will click off at 100%. So I've got the probe here in a wet wall, and that explains, I think, the fact that you can see there's a bit of a crack along here. Behind the TV there's wood lice, spiders, all sorts of things going on. So it's not particularly obvious to anybody walking in here that there is a problem. It's hidden behind the dry lining, but the clue when you first come in is this floor, and you can see that rippled effect on the floor, and we know that underneath that floor the humidity is probably about 90%, which is causing the boards to be cupped, and you're getting this cupping in the boards. It's only a small gap. I think there's probably 2x2 battens, timber battens on the floor that are laid down like that, and then the boards are laid across them. So there's a little bit of air circulating under them, but being supplied with moisture from the outside walls. Why? Well, my guess is that in part, if you look outside, and you can see, I think the ground level outside is significantly higher. It's probably in this corner. If it's difficult with the camera, I know, but if you look into that corner, I think you get an idea from the parallels down in the corner there. It's quite a long way down there, and then you look through the window and it's a lot higher up. I'd say there's probably about 12 inches or more of ground backed up against that wall. So I think what we're getting is physical water out of the wall under the floor. So we'll try and do a wee bit more investigation of this, but this is a good example of a room that looks absolutely perfect. I mean, most surveyors would just walk in here and say, yeah, it's fine, but it's not. And there are problems developing in here, and you'd have to be pretty sharp-eyed to pick that down there. What's this reading now? I don't know. There you go. 97.9, 10.5 grams per cube. That's quite wet. That's not very pretty in there at all. So what do we advise the client? They're buying the place. What have we got to say? Well, I think number one, we're going to reduce the ground levels out here. I'll quickly take you out the back door and show you. It's the old story. If you build the ground up behind a building, you've got no chance, and especially if you build the ground up behind a very porous, soft brick. That's what we got here, and you can see that ground level rising quite significantly. That sill there is about, what is it, a brick and a half higher, and then the ground goes up another brick or two there. So by the time you get to that really wet bit, which is about where you're looking now in there, that's about where the hygrometer probe is, in the wall there somewhere. It's probably the best part of 4 bricks above the kitchen sill. And just by the by, before I turn it off, you got a brilliant example of Wally Damp Man and his stupid injection damp proofing. I mean, how the hell you could do that, I don't know. Beyond belief. You know, just marching up the wall. These are modern bricks. They're basically an engineering brick. They're impervious, and yet we've got absolutely ridiculous damp proofing course all the way down there. You can see it. Totally useless. No good to anyone. Doesn't do anything. Achieves nothing. And then you've got the same damn thing all the way down here, despite the fact that you've even got vents and things in the wall. And then another of these stupid, absolutely ridiculous vertical rows of holes going up a wall. God only knows what they think they're doing with them. Criminal damage to a listed building. This is grade 2. And down the bottom here, this is the local stone. That's a stone plinth, completely covered up with cement. I actually took a bit of cement off earlier on, and you can see how just in the space of the day while I've been here, this bit was sopping wet. I've taken that cement off, and the bit that I've taken off here has dried out. That's the only form of damp proofing you need. Let it breathe. And again, stupid idiot, somebody's come along here. They got these ridiculous holes all the way up the wall, shattering the brick. You can see here how the brick has actually cracked when they've drilled it. So all you're doing is another hole there, look, big crack, another crack there, another little crack there. So the whole thing is just shattered from these idiots drilling holes in it. Moronic. I suppose a bit of a case history of a survey. You don't often see pipe work like that, do you? That's something else will go in the report. What the hell they think they're doing with these silly things, I don't know. I'd cut all these soil and vent pipes off and put an air intake valve just up on the top there. Get rid of these ridiculous things on the roof, I don't need them. And you've got roof drainage coming down, more roof drainage, little bits and pieces of pipe. What a mess. It really disfigures the whole back of this otherwise very nice old building. Such a pity. Lovely old sort of manor house in the background, and these are the stables and coach houses, but what a mess they've made of them. Absolutely terrible. Anyway, so there you go. So you can see now the sorts of reasons why we get damp. It's nothing to do with all the injection damp proofing. It's because it's got dry lining, high ground levels, and all sorts of other things going on. And these are the symptoms that we're seeing. And if I just sort of go back here, we'll just see if it's actually topped out. Yep, there you go. 99%, 10.5 grams per cubic metre. So that's quite a lot of water. That's a hell of a wet wall, really. So we've got to do something about this room. It can't stay like this. So we'll try and update you on what we do at a later stage.